Hello, welcome back to the Dice Chain. I'm your host, Logan Collins, and again, I'm here to help you get involved in the weird, wonderful, and gonzo worlds of Dungeon Crawl Classics. Today I wanted to talk about a subject that is very important to playing TTRPGs, something that is detrimental in my mind, at least as far as making a game feel like it's your own. Those things are NPCs and magic items. Now I hear what you're saying. Logan, I use modules. They already have NPCs and magic items. And you're not wrong, but one of the best aspects of TTRPGs and about being a GM, a DM, a judge, what have you, one of the best aspects is taking these adventures, even pre-written ones, and doing things to make them your own. Something that can help define you as the type of player that is a GM. Because despite what people think, the GM is also playing the game, just in a different way. Now, there are a number of very easy ways to create NPCs and magic items. It's very simple, and I'm going to be here, I'm going to break that down for you. Let's start with magic items. Magic items are one of the most repeated and unmissable parts of any fantasy world. You've got magical swords and rings in the works of Tolkien. Cuchulainn had his magical spear that I will not even begin to try to pronounce because Gaelic is a whole, it is not easy to pronounce. It's a wild language. Beowulf had a series of magic swords. That's a good, we'll get to that another time. That's an excellent novel. It's something that you need to read. You can name a magical world, a fantasy tale. I guarantee you there will be at least a few magical weapons, as well as non-weapon magical items. Diamond-eyed skulls with silver hands in Lankmar, weird magical contact lenses that make you see the world 10 times better than it actually is in the dying earth. Hey, it's me from the future in the middle of editing. So I meant to name so many more things, like I barely scratched the surface of magical items that you can find in other worlds. From pendants that let you know when monsters are nearby, to moving mushrooms that make you grow in size and strength when you consume them. Magical items are in everything, and diving into that is so fun. It's something you don't really think about until you're already noticing it, and then when you do, you can't unnotice it. Okay, back to the video. Every series at one point or another has an interesting magical item. One of the things I like to do is look at the non-weapon magical items in modules and figure out either a way that I can fit it into the world that I'm creating or swap it out with something. Creating a magical item from scratch sounds like something that should be daunting, but believe me when I say it is one of the most simplistic and yet fulfilling things that a judge can do in a game. One of my favorite things to do is just go onto Google Images, go onto Pinterest, go anywhere and just type in some kind of an item, some kind of item that you'd see in a medieval or fantasy setting, and add the word magic to it and just see what happens, see what pops up. Somewhere in there will be an image that will probably spark your imagination. And that's not the only way to do it. One of my favorite magical items that I recently implemented into my home game is one that got inspired by a cup I saw on the internet. So I was scrolling looking for a new tankard. My wooden tankard that I used to drink out of at games all the time, it cracked. And I like it a lot. I don't want it to fall apart. I put it up, you know. I wanted to find something that would be a little bit more sturdy, especially for, you know, just playing games with my friends. While doing that, I came across a listing of this weird wooden looking cup, a little less legit, but one that would be sturdy. And I found this one covered in these strange blue runes, and I fell in love. A lot of the listings and even the people that were talking about it were all calling it a Viking cup, which is egregiously inaccurate, but it immediately made me think of dwarves. Now, fun fact about me, the dwarf is my favorite fantasy race. I adore dwarves. So my mind began thinking about all the different things that these blue runes could be, what type of item this could be. And I thought, you know what? Maybe I should just buy it. So I did. Excellent purchase, by the way. It's a very big, sturdy cup. It's fun to drink out of at game night. It's very thematic. And the more I stared at it, the more I thought about all the things this could do. And it's one of the things that I want to talk about when it comes to magical items is that a magic item doesn't necessarily need to sound like it's good at the time. Not every magic item needs to be geared for the current objective, the current mission that your characters are on. To me, some of the fun is choosing an item that seems completely useless, but it turns out to be epic. So when I created an item to go with this cup, I decided to go with the over-the-top, but still fairly just, it explains exactly what it is name. I'm calling it the Dwarven Mug of Liquid Alchemy. That's what I thought of when I thought of this. I thought this could be Dwarven Alchemy. And what would dwarves care to change the form of? Liquid. So the way it works is the cup is filled with a liquid. Whatever it is, the user, the drinker, as long as they speak the magic word, the runes will all light up and they can say whatever liquid they want it to be, and instantly the contents of the cup are changed into that liquid. If they give you a mug of water, you say the magic word and mead, and suddenly you've got yourself a mug of delicious fermented honey. Now, to the average player, this sounds like the type of item that would only work in very specific situations, but at the same time, this could be useful for a number of reasons. Let's say your party has made some assassins mad. Well, the owner of this mug simply has to put any drinks that they order anywhere into this, and they can say what liquid the drink already is. If the runes light up and it changes it to that liquid, that means something else was in there too. Yes, it could just mean they got watered down beer at a bad tavern, but it also could be that you just kept yourself from being poisoned. Again, the mug seems useless at first, but if your characters really think about it, if your players are really focusing in, they can make 1,000 uses for this ridiculous cup. And as the individual who is crafting your world, as your players continue, you can decide if that tankard is more important later on. One of my favorite examples of how the evolution of a magic item works is when you look at The Hobbit. In The Hobbit, Bilbo found a ring.
Wow.
The ring turned him invisible. He thought it was kind of neat, and he kept it. And that was it. It wasn't until Lord of the Rings that we find out the real, true significance of this seemingly innocuous item. Whether you want these items to be important later the second that you introduce them, or if you just kind of sit on them and think about the item and then later decide that they're useful. Either way, it's a really good time and it's fun. It's a great way to get your creative mind working. I know a lot of people who are back and forth about building their own world. And some of these small items can be an easy part to start that creative process. Start getting your brain thinking about your own world. And in the same vein, I think NPCs are just as easy and just as important to kind of bring the worlds around and make them your own. So recently, in an interview, Ed Greenwood, the creator of Faerun, was talking about how the most important part, the first thing you should do when you're creating a world is characters. The people that live there are part of what will bring it all together. If you spend your entire time coming up with these years and years of lore, but you don't have the people that live there right now, the people in the absolute present, then your players aren't going to care because they're not going to interact with people that lived 8,000 years ago unless you're doing some time travel shenanigans. And again, this is something that a lot of GMs already do, they just don't think about it that way. The easiest way for me, when I'm running a module and I decide I want to, just use a little bit of flavoring to kind of put a new coat of paint on an already existing character. Perfect example, recently I was running Hole in the Sky by Brendan LaSalle. In the book, there is an NPC dwarf by the name of Carlos Rend, I believe. I might be wrong. I decided I wanted Carlos to be more than a one-off character. I decided instead of Carlos Rend, his name would be Delg Stonefist, and that he would be an exiled member of a mining family. Delg came from a long line of miners and masons until the day that he decided to follow the call of the Blue Lady. And even though this is information that the players won't know now, I now have that in the back of my pocket. They knew his name, they talked to him. Got kind of lucky, my players didn't just murder hobo him the second they met him. But whether or not they remember him now, I have the option as a story hook to, at some point, they can meet other members of the Stonefist clan. They could meet dwarves that knew Delg. And yes, I could do that with the name he already has, but I love flavoring things to fit the world that I'm crafting. And it's a great option, and it's something that's really fun for not only bringing things back around, but also for making a world feel more like yours. Now, beyond flavoring, I think it's also important to just literally craft from the ground up characters. Again, this seems like it could be hard, but it's really not. The thing is that creating a fun NPC like that, somebody that isn't gonna do things better than the party, but is someone that the party can interact with, is fun for your players. Players love NPCs. Let's do a fun exercise. Let's take some people that we know of, and we'll turn them into NPCs that you can use in your world. When you think of TTRPGs, a lot of people's mind is at some point going to go to Critical Role. It's fair. It's a good show. So because of that, let's take one of the most well-known individuals in that space, and let's make an NPC out of Matthew Mercer. So Matt Mercer was quoted as to saying his favorite fantasy race is the dwarf, and that his favorite class is the bard. Good taste. So let's make a dwarven musician NPC. Matt Mercer, let's go with, this is gonna be simple. He's a voice actor, he weaves stories. We'll go with Silvertongue. Excellent last name. Now for the first name, it's gonna be a little bit more tricky. Neither Matt nor Mercer is really a very dwarfy name. Something that I'll usually default to when I'm doing something dwarf related is kind of go either one of the Scandinavian languages or like German. Oh, yeah. Anything that's semi-Germanic. German for storyteller is like Erzähler. Erzähler?
Erzähler.
That's a little too big to be a first name though, but a really good one for using more of the Norse-style languages is a Viking bard was referred to as a skald. So Skald Silvertongue could be a really fun name for your dwarven bard. Then all you gotta do is really just kind of flavor him like Mercer, give him the hair, maybe give him like one of those flowy vests, and it could be a really fun character. Maybe Skald Silvertongue works at a bar that your players regularly attend, and he'll be the one that gives them missions. Usually they get them from the guy running the bar. Maybe they should get them from the guy playing up on the stage. So there you go, Skald Silvertongue, the Matt Mercer flavored dwarf bard.
Wow, cathartic.
Let's do another one. That's a fun exercise. Let's see, when we think of DCC, there's a number of things that come to my mind immediately. One of them is the wizard van. When I think of the wizard van, I think of wizards. When I think of wizards, I think of the various words that mean wizard. Eventually, my mind will get to the purplesorcerer.com. So let's make a mage. Let's make a purple-robed mage. Now, what else do we think of when we think of DCC? A lot of people, their mind's going to immediately go to Joseph Goodman. But he's already the Dark Lord. We can't make him a mage. Who else can be a mage? Well, we already mentioned someone earlier today, Weird Uncle Brendan. Now, the wizard van we can easily translate into, this is a traveling mage. He's going to run in a caravan. Also, if you're running like MCC or like Umerica, yeah, you can just totally be in a van. That would be really funny, actually. But if you're running DCC and you don't want to have modern vehicles, simple. He's in a wizard caravan. Now, we already decided he'll be in either purple, violet, one of those types of colors as a reference to everyone's favorite third-party site. His last name is already pretty perfect in my mind for a sorcerer, so all you gotta do is slap Brendan's face on a purple-robed wizard, and you've got LaSalle the Eccentric. You could literally make him one of your character's uncles. That would be pretty funny. Not only is making NPCs and magical items not very difficult, it is quite fulfilling. It is very fun. It's a fun little exercise. Even if you don't use the characters you come up with, it is fun to come up with ideas, decide things that you might want to use in your worlds. There are ways to make modules your own. There are ways to make worlds your own. My cat is here to say hello. There are so many things you can do to flavor, to customize, to enhance the worlds that you're using or the ones that you're creating. Well, that'll be all for today. I think it's about time for me to get ready for my next session. Hope you guys learned something. Feel free to take this information and use it. You can use this magic item or either of these NPCs in your own games. Absolutely, they're free. I'm just glad you're here. Seriously, thank you guys for all of this support. It blew my mind when I saw how many views the first episode of this got. It's really cool to not only be a part of the band, but to be creating content for the band. I think that is so cool. Everyone's been really welcoming. Here's to the first few episodes. Hopefully there's quite a few more still working. Thank you guys so much, and until next time, keep working your way up that dice chain.